Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vermin Sermon. Today we have a special guest. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name's Shahzant. Well, that's what I go by on my YouTube channel, but most people just call me Shazan. I'm a I'm just a YouTuber. I don't really classify myself by any genre just because the content I make is so random. But I've got 20 subs and I upload just really randomly. But yeah, I just do a bit of content sometimes if I feel like. But mainly, what is racing games. If I had to choose like one thing, I do.
Yeah. All right. So we're now are on episode 3. We got some big names in here. 20 subscribers. Let's go.
20 subs,
All right. So we just got an article that came out that kind of matters quite a bit to what we're all interested in, which is Need for Speed's Under the Hood January update article. So, I have no idea where to begin. I have a lot to say. I want to start with you guys. What are your guys' ideas, your previous expectations, what you think is going to happen in the future, whatever, just go for it. What do you think?
All right, I guess I'll go first then.
Sure.
So, um, yeah, I'll go. I didn't really have much expectations, like I was hoping that, in the back of my mind, I was really hoping, we could maybe get PvP, some new customization options, more races, or like just at the least, some stuff to add for endgame, like just new races would be nice or an increase in the level cap. Because I wasn't expecting this, I was expecting that, they would actually put something out because it's been so long, and I felt like, the lack of communication was just to build hype. But I was wrong, and when I read the article, I was just so angry.
Mm-hmm. All right. And how about you?
Honestly, the past few weeks I've been busy with my own life and all that stuff, so the expectations have dropped, especially after 2015 and then the debacle of Payback, and But I knew it was going to be shit, but there's a small part at the back of my mind where
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Newspeed, and I thought maybe it might be decent. They might actually fix something, but again, like the crew 2 and stuff like that, I just don't like it.
Yeah, it's I had this little spark of hope. So here's the thing. I was initially really, really frustrated, but then the more I thought about it, the less irritated I got because I realized, looking at everything they were doing up until then, I have no reason to expect any more than just complete garbage. So
Yeah.
let's go
Exactly.
when Need for Speed Heat dropped, right? We're all pretty excited about the game because for once it's a decent handling, somewhat okay feeling Ghost Games Need for Speed game, right? But
Mm.
it definitely has clear issues. At night, the game is just completely it's pointless. After a certain point, you have no reason to play. Kind of the thing that's the game's selling point, right? The
Mm.
point of the game is the day and night mechanic, and if you can't play the game at night or without any purpose, then it almost makes the game arbitrary. Um, Loads of other issues. I made a video on like loads of different issues with Need for Speed Heat. Um, and as soon as the game came out, some of the first things that we saw on Twitter, if I check from now, I'll have to like keep scrolling for a while. But if I recall correctly, they weren't like, "Oh, we're hearing some of the issues you have already." Well, we'll be getting to those in the near future, or like, we or that would probably be seen as a negative thing for marketing if as soon as you release a product you start talking about the negatives. But if let's say they said, "Hey, the game just came out. We would love to hear your feedback," right? Something like that. But here's what actually is kind of happening. The game releases, it gets good reviews because I think they made a fairly decent game and they deserved. Maybe the reasoning for me personally is a bit different, but I think they deserved the reviews and the appreciation that they got. But then after that, that's all they held to. They didn't consider, what can we do to make our game better? What can we do to fix the flaws? They're doing is just like you know, just like kind of like they're just relaxing, they're just celebrating, they're like, oh, we made such a great game, we're done now, like we no longer need to put in that much effort. I'm seeing this tweet after 1 week. They have this little collage of pictures that people have made a week after. Okay, that makes sense. It's been a week. um then like some time goes by, they start build of the week. Honestly, by the time the first build of the week happens, I think people are already like, hey, this game's great, but it has problems. They are this, that, and the other thing. You should do this because, yeah, the game's starting to get boring, even at the first build of the week. I'm looking at the tweet now. It's November 25th. By the time this tweet happens, some of the first few tweets are like, here are some cars that should be added. Someone says, we should have abandoned cars back. I have different opinions on that, but, people are wanting more stuff, and they're like, we don't really care. Our game's great. It's good enough. We're happy with what we've made. And then that whole theme continues throughout all their Twitter, basically up until now, right? And they have their little like telemetry stats and everything, like this is how much playtime has happened across all platforms. Here are the most customized cars and stuff nobody cares about. Nobody's interested in any of this, right? And then it's the community management. I already roasted Max pretty hard in the last episode, right? But there's a reason for it. It's because it's awful. And what's worse is that he was hyping it up, and the more he was hyping it up, like, again, I had this small thing in the back of my head saying, maybe we'll even get PvP, just maybe, or maybe something involving endgame. But no, of course not. And I should have seen it coming. I kind of feel stupid for kind of allowing myself to be misled to this extent. But so I don't really think there's a reason to be that upset, because I mean, you just look at their Twitter. They don't know what they're doing, or at least that's what it seems like. So like, am I surprised that the main point is wheel support and a chat wheel? No, I'm just like, oh, of course it's going to be something completely insignificant that 2% of the people are going to use. Not anything anyone actually wanted. Those are just my initial thoughts about this whole update. But I want to hear more about what you guys have to say, because I have a lot of things I want to say about what they need to be doing in the future updates, whatever. So you guys, if you have anything to add.
Okay, I'll go first, as last time as last.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been thinking about it. Like last year EA fucked up with Anthem, and then it's exposed by Jason Schreier on from one of his articles where he talked about a culture of mismanagement, people becoming needy, depressed, and becoming really ill because the work like animals at the studio, and people changing ideas left, right, and center.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing a simple thing kind of happened with this game and its development, which is quite obvious when you see like there's off-road, something that's not really part of Need Speed, and it's like it's been horseshoed in.
I think the reason they probably did that was because EA said, hey, Forza Horizon's doing great, it has off-road, you should add off-roading to it.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah,
but let me finish my point. Sorry. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking overall, it's also to do with games as a service, like online. Like we put out the minimal viable product, which is, in this case, not a piece of shit, but it still needs quite a lot of stuff to improve, and just leave it out to doing people beta test, because I think that's what many gamers are like to big corporations these days compared to back in the day. Because let's say this release on PS2 or Xbox original one, if it came out like this, it'd be screwed. They'd lost millions of sales, and they've been finished as a company, and you can see that throughout history. But obviously, due to the way this modern game is people have become accustomed to just shit games and being treated like shit, and therefore shafted.
Yeah, and I think a couple things. I think the reason why we had frequent updates with Need for Speed 2015, and to a certain extent Payback, was because reviews were not that good, so EA perhaps tried to force the employees maybe to work overtime or do whatever it is they need to do in order to kind of fix up the game and, kind of get it back up on its feet. Now, usually in these situations, it's pretty bad for the workers, the employees themselves, working overtime, not getting paid well or, barely at all. But while I can say that, I don't actually know. And the thing is, nobody actually knows unless you're directly involved with it. So I completely disagree with the idea that anyone except someone who is directly involved with EA and Ghost Games knows what's happening. I don't know if it's EA's fault. I don't know if it's Ghost's fault. I can make as much baseless conjecture as I want to, but I don't know. And I won't know unless I become a part of the dev team or EA and whatever. You get what I'm saying, right? We can't know for certain. So I don't want to, kind of like point the finger of blame, but judging by what I'm thinking is happening, I think in Need for Speed 2015 and Payback's life cycle, the games did not do well because they had very clear issues. EA gets the workers to make updates rather rapidly. They released Need for Speed Heat and it's not ready yet. My assumption was that they probably wanted more time to work on it with a lack of PvP, with a lack of this and that. Yeah, it feels quite incomplete. Also, there were many bugs. This is actually quite a buggy game across all platforms, PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. And so I don't quite think it's that finished. EA, maybe they are making them release it when it's not ready yet. But here's the thing, right? I think we can tell that there isn't as good communication between Ghost, at least their community management, and us. And we can see that across their Twitter. And we can see that maybe a little bit in this update. I don't quite think they're really like hearing our concerns. It's one thing to not fund an update for a developer that you own as a publisher. It's another thing when you are the developer and you are putting out steering wheel support and chat wheel stuff and other generic quality of life improvements that I think a rather small portion of players have been requesting. The only one thing I can say that I think people were requesting was the fact that driving through a gas station now cleans your paint and removes scratches. I don't care that much, but hey, it's cool. Here's another thing. I'm reading the article right now. Some players using manual shifting have mentioned that it's too easy to accidentally enter the garage after exiting it or starting an event. Now we've changed the input settings so that you'll have to hold down a button instead of just pressing it in order to perform an action. Here's the thing. Another way to solve this problem is simple button mapping. Why does Need for Speed Most Wanted 2005 on my computer have button mapping? But Need for Speed Heat, a game that released in 2019, doesn't. Does that make any sense? And why, after an update, they haven't fixed that? It's a very basic feature. All of these are not so much so improvements as something that could have been in the game, like wheel support, right? That's not really an addition of content. That's not really an extra feature, a new feature, or some kind of innovation with something. That's just kind of there, It's something that you would find other games to have. It's just wheel support. It's support for an already existing feature that's existed for a long time. It's sure, it's cool, it's here now, but it's just a basic feature. Just like button mapping, that's a basic feature. I hope they still add it one time, but this is something it's like they're touting, like, oh, look at us, we now have steering wheel support. Like, congratulations, you now have a very basic feature that like 90% of racing games these days have. You get what I'm saying?
Honestly, I don't think they're gonna, because like for some reason Payback they had force controller vibration and you couldn't turn it off, and they just do stupid shit.
I just don't get it. That I don't get that. I mean, again, do I know for sure? No, I don't know for certain. But if I can make an educated guess, my assumption is that Ghost just makes these random, stupid little, but significant mistakes when they're developing or updating a game. And then also, you know, they didn't mention bribing cops, where if you're in a manual car, you cannot downshift until they take away the option to bribe cops. That's a little bit ridiculous. I guess as someone who always uses manual, that's a little bit ridiculous. I hope that maybe that's also included in that update, but would I
Honestly,
be
I wouldn't have your hopes up. Like,
yeah.
I think this game is going to be the way it is now. It's not the way Payback is. I feel just
Yeah.
based on my life of not being asked about certain games, but I think it's just going to be the same, man. It's falling on deaf ears. Also, want to make a point with people shitting on Max. You can't really blame everything on him because he's probably not even actual dev himself. He just speaks what he's told by the devs or the people on top of him, and also he's new,
Yeah,
and
that's
maybe
true.
English is not his first language, so the way he's
Maybe.
coming is not meant to be the way he says it. But then that's
Yeah.
just conjecture.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
that's
I
all I have
mean,
to say.
Yeah.
I don't want people to attack him. I mean, okay. All the things I said in the last episode, I'm not taking those back. And he needed to hear it, But it's understandable. It's not great, but it's understandable. It's it's not a good situation. The state of Need for Speed isn't great, but again, it's understandable. It makes sense to me. It makes sense that Ghost constantly messing up, just like from just like little simple things that could make the experience a lot better, to like really game breaking things like the handling model in 2015, just and speed cards in Payback. Am I surprised? No, I'm not surprised by this update at all. I'm just like, it seems like a typical Ghost Games situation, you know. Um, I honestly, I'm surprised that I didn't see this back in 2015. I mean, it was a little bit too early back then, but sure, the updates were great, but the game was definitely flawed. I'm really surprised I didn't kind of foresee that this would be what Need for Speed is like for the next X number of years. So, yeah, this is really, really not that disappointing for me personally. Uh, you know, what else do you guys have to add before I move on to other
I'd
stuff?
say it's a weird topic because there's no specific person to blame, and because we don't know hold all the facts, we can only say a certain amount of it about it. That makes
Exactly.
sense.
Exactly. Yeah. Uh, one thing I want to talk about briefly. They are talking in the Under the Hood article about some more updates and stuff, and I'm reading the last few things here. But we can tell you one thing: there will be more cars. Okay,
Oh,
I could rant about this for ages. We do
Don't
not
we?
need more cars in Need for Speed Heat. We don't. There's no reason for us to have more cars. None. Zero. Okay? They're not gonna. It's an arcade racer, but the cars don't feel different enough for there to be a significant change in gameplay. What you're gonna have happen is you're gonna get a DLC car. You're gonna buy it. Okay, this is the most extreme case possible. You're gonna buy it. You're gonna customize it extensively. Like, take your time. Like, the most extreme case possible. You buy all of the different customization parts. Let's just pretend like it has a lot. You spend 3 hours designing a wrap for it. Okay, this is obviously not the average player. Then you go out into the open world, and then what do? You do nothing. You do absolutely nothing. You do nothing that you couldn't have done before, except with the fact that you have a different car, right? That's why car DLC is one of the worst types of DLC, in my opinion, for all types of games. I would give an exception to sim racing, because kind of the design philosophy for a sim racing game is that you want the experience uh, prioritized. Like the actual driving experience is the most important aspect of it. So because of that, if you're having a specific car being added as DLC, they're going to put a lot of effort into how it feels, and they're going to put an effort into making it feel realistic. And so I can understand that. Any other type of game, I really, really struggle to see car DLC being a part of it. I can understand car DLC if there are kind of quote unquote essential cars missing. I guess for Need for Speed, one could make the argument that, hey, there aren't that many tuner cars. It would be great to have tuner car DLC. Uh, I would be a little bit annoyed just because, hey, why am I paying extra for these things, which, in my personal opinion, should have been in the game from the start, purely based on the idea that it has much to do with uh, the point of Need for Speed in terms of car culture, underground street racing, etc. But that's not a big deal. What it is a big deal is releasing any car DLC at all when you have so many other glaring issues with the game. I talked a lot about these in the video I made a while ago, but yeah, I want your guys' opinion on, I guess, car DLC for Need for Speed. Yeah, you guys go
I
ahead.
mean, I don't know. I feel like the Heat car list, in my opinion, is fine as it is. In my opinion, at least. Yeah, we do need more tuners, but other than that, I think it's fine. Like I wouldn't buy car DLC for that game. I don't really see a point to it because it
And
already has a lot of what I like. So
it already has 100 plus cars, which I guarantee not very many people have used. Like a decent fraction of them. And
oh
there's
yeah.
also an issue where if you own a certain number of cars, you cannot play online because of a certain error.
Wait,
They should,
what?
yeah, yes.
I didn't even
I'm
know
pretty
about
sure.
that.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure. I think Rain, when he was part of Cam's undefeated league, he had to sell a couple cars because he was at around the 100 car mark, and he had to sell some due to the fact that you will have a glitch. That should probably be fixed because then some people, again, not very many, more of an edge case. Some people will likely have to sell cars just to use DLC to play online, which is a little bit ridiculous. But uh, you know, here's the thing: the game has virtually no end game, and that's not only, we can't just blame that on there being a lack of PvP. There's quite a few things I can think of, or reasons as to why I think there isn't much end game. So, going back to Need for Speed 2015, I played a lot of that game, even when there wasn't much to do, because the PvP update did not come until April of 2016. So I was playing a lot of Need for Speed 2015. I mainly was just buying and upgrading cars and testing them out against race events. In general, if you do an event with the difficulty hard in Need for Speed 2015, if you have a fully upgraded car, the races will be somewhat easy, but they're more closely matched than, let's say, medium or easy. With Heat, because of the AI recommended level system, there are only a few 400 plus races. Like, I don't know how many there are in daytime, but not very many. I'm gonna guess like 3 or 4, maybe 5. Uh, you take out your 400 plus car, you want to do some racing, you want to test out this car that you just built. You do those races, and then what? You just do those exact same 4 or 5 races again? No, the whole rest of the game, there is actually quite a bit of content in Need for Speed, but it's not used at all. It's completely unused, or at least isn't used well. Um, when I first heard of the car list being not leaked, but put out there by the developers or whoever themselves, I noticed there were a lot of convertibles. I thought, oh, maybe there's like class racing, and to enter this event, your car must be convertible. Nope, none of that. Just pick whatever car you want, and you can do that. That wouldn't be a problem if while you're progressing through the game, the main aspect of progression is the fact that it's like difficult to upgrade your car, and maybe you can make the argument that it is at certain points, but I just feel like because of how short the game is, it does not have that much progression. And so once you're done with the game, now the vast majority of racing events are completely useless. Completely useless to you. Unless you want to downgrade your car, pause, go to the performance upgrade menu, take upgrades off of your car just so you can do race events. That aren't completely boring because the AI can't keep up. Like, that's one reason why I think there isn't much end game in Need for Speed Heat. Another reason, playing the game at night is completely pointless. Half of the game is just not. It serves no purpose. You know, a major part of the game serves no purpose at all. I will even now and then, on occasion, do races at night just because I find it fun. I still find it fun, but there's no purpose. They could fix that. They could have PvP. They could balance cars so that it's actually fun to race online. And I know everyone's like, oh, well, you don't actually need an RSR to, win races. Well, of course you don't, but what matters is likelihood and how fair or unfair it is, right? So what I don't understand is that what I'm trying to say is there are a lot of things that they can be doing to make the game better, but I'm really afraid what we're going to see in the future is just going to be car DLC.
100% agree. I don't think there's going to be any big changes, as I previously said. Just, I've given up, to be fair. I had my fun with it, but about 100 hours. But I don't think they're going to do much else except for car DLC.
Yeah. There was something you mentioned earlier about it almost being as if we're beta testers, and I completely agree. Need for Speed Carbon came out in 2006. You could play the single player, which is, to be honest, pretty short. You had Challenge Series to keep you busy, and what Challenge Series did was it unlocked different types of customization or certain specific things, right? So there's an incentive behind it. You still had online racing. You had reward cards, and you had online reward cards. So you actually had quite a bit to do. And that's why if you bought it full price in 2006, you were sure that you had a decent product that had some end game to it. Maybe not a lot, but it's 2006, With Need for Speed Heat, extremely short story. Half of the game becomes pointless after you, beat the game. The game is still a little bit buggy, a little bit glitchy. PC performance isn't very good. Once you get really fast cars, the other races are so pointlessly easy that, that there's no, they're pointlessly easy. There's no point in doing them. There's no online PvP. All you do is just go online, try to race other people, and then maybe they will accept the invite, maybe they won't. There's no actual settings. You can't ban certain cards, you can't restrict certain things. It's not like the Gran Turismo open lobby system. You just go online, maybe you race some people, maybe they have OP cars that have been OP for years, and then that's it. That should not be a $60 game. And I would make the argument, I would not be that upset even if it was still $60, but they said, hey, this is actually a beta. It's like, the game's not complete. You can pay some money, play it early, and then we'll develop it later. That's why I'm not that upset about BeamNG Drive not really having much of a, game in its place. It's more of like a tech demo. Well, it was never really advertised as a full experience to begin with, Everyone knows when they're buying BeamNG Drive what it is and what kind of experience they're getting. So, but with Need for Speed Heat, you're under the illusion that you're getting a complete game, but you're not. And it's still a pretty decent one. It's the best one that Ghost have made, but it's it's so incomplete. It's so incomplete. It's crazy.
It's just racing games as a whole. It's become mid-tier, honestly, except for I feel like Forza Horizon 4.
Oh,
but even that,
okay. I have very strong opinions.
Even that has its flaws. I don't.
Yeah.
Last time I played that was 6 months ago. I was tired of that, but overall games as a whole, well, car games anyway, have become a bit
Yeah. No,
lacking.
I have very, very strong opinions about Forza. I'm not gonna get into them now. I'm not gonna get into them now, but you know, I can agree that I guess for arcade racers as a whole, uh, there's no like going back to the glory days of like I don't know maybe mid 2000s or even late 90s, mid to late 90s if you like enjoyed games like the Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit or High Stakes and whatnot.
I
Um,
also want to make another point. You know, the people who say back in the day was really nice. The glory days, the golden ages, you'd say it.
yeah,
If they played the same games remastered now, most of them wouldn't like them because in some ways they don't hold up today,
yeah, no,
except for a few.
absolutely. Uh, Due to the fact that there's been so much of an advance in technology, I feel like a lot of people would not find them as enjoyable. Now there are many aspects of them
But not not
that I
not one
think,
game as a whole.
as a whole, yeah, I think I can agree there. But I think like a lot of modern games can learn from them still. But yeah, no, I agree. I think if they were just that's why I'm I guess personally against a Need for Speed remaster of older games. I don't know. Like maybe if it doesn't interfere with the dev cycle, like let's say they have a different
It
team
will.
do
It would
a
definitely. I'm sure it would. Or if it was made by another team, it'd be inferior. Think about it.
yeah, but I mean, like here's a hypothetical situation. Every 2 years, Ghost or whatever studio keeps making Need for Speed games. Every other year, we'll have a different team make a remastered version of a different game. Um, because you don't have to put that much effort into remasters. They don't have to
I
touch the
al-
physics engine. You get what I'm saying?
yeah
They
yeah.
can they can leave the core gameplay the same, just update the graphics. Worst case scenario, the graphics aren't as nice as people would want. And that's it.
I also want to say with stuff like people say dev cycles 2 or 3 years. Sometimes that's bullshit, and it could only be a tiny amount. Again, going back to Anthem, they said it was made in 5 to 7 years or something, but in real life, it's actually 16 months because it was scrapped halfway through, and they were fucking up, and only had like a year and a bit to work on it. So Need for Speed, who knows?
Mm.
Especially when they spent all this time doing the handling, most likely, and not having too much time doing anything else, especially like redoing. As Story People said in his latest video, when like obviously creating a map that's made for off-roading, creating good, decent off-road physics, and then other kind of stuff that's not like essential. Who knows how much time they had to actually make the experience solid compared to like other games.
Yeah. Uh, I think I can agree. I've thought that maybe actually around when Payback came out, that well, Need for Speed 2015 didn't have that great reviews, so maybe EA is like, actually, we will not give you funding this year to make a new Need for Speed game. There will be no Need for Speed game in 2016, whatever. But you will make one for 2017. But we're not gonna fund you yet because we don't have the money because you didn't make enough money, like that kind of thing. So I think it's possible that they don't actually have 2 years of development time for each game, and that yeah maybe they only have one, or maybe they have less time just because of the fact that you know it's it's whatever EA says. And again, I don't know. I don't actually know. We're all speculating here. We actually, we can't say for sure whether or not this is the case. So, yeah. Anything you want to add, Shazant? You've been anything you want to add to the conversation
No, not
about?
really. I just agree with what you say, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. This is. I think the vast majority of the community is upset with the Under the Hood article.
Oh yeah. Well,
So I don't think I'm like saying like craziness.
well, I mean, vast majority. You'd be surprised to see the amount of people on Twitter I see defending Ghost. It's a joke.
Oh yeah, no, that's funny. That's funny.
Th-
And the reason I say
Those are
it's
fans
funny.
of a specific YouTuber that I don't want to like. Lame. Either that, or they just haven't got
We're calling out
their
someone else in
brain.
this episode.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's because someone could make the argument that we might have been defending Ghost. We're speculating. We don't know. Like, these people, like, think, oh, it's definitely EA. It's definitely EA that's causing the problem. No, we don't know that. Like, so why are you defending them? You know, no one should be defending anyone here. Right now, we're just talking about what we think might be happening, but until there's concrete proof, there's no reason to defend them or, like, be hostile. Well, I don't think there's ever going to be a reason to be hostile, but to say what needs to be said, I just think, this update is just. I'm really afraid that this update is going to start a chain reaction of mediocrity.
I think I was gonna say, the people who are supporting them say, "Hey, it's nice to get extra car or something like that." These are people that allows them to verify what they're thinking of. Like, let's just give them a shit update, give them fuck all, give them the minimum, and they'll
That's
keep on that
actually-
cycle. And
Yeah, I
again, you
didn't
see
even think
that
about
in
that.
other games as well when people buy half-baked piece of shit.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. No, I completely agree. Yeah, the thing is, they can get away with it because if you've seen, as you've mentioned on Twitter and in other places, there are people vehemently defending them. Like, Ghost has this, like, little outer ring of protection of, like, the White Knights, and then so they can just continue to make just complete mediocre crap, and then or they can try to make something interesting and it ends up being mediocre crap because of EA in some certain way that we don't know. Again, we don't know. The whole, honestly, if there's any takeaway from this, it's that we don't know, so let's not jump to conclusions. But in terms of what we can't confirm, but we can just talk about in terms of our feelings, I am pretty disappointed with Need for Speed right now. I feel like I shouldn't have been disappointed for the reason I mentioned earlier. I should have seen this coming, but I am a little bit disappointed. Not that much, but a little bit. Just a little bit.
I haven't played the game since second week of December, so I guess that just speaks for itself. I finished the campaign,
Wow.
and yeah, I've had nothing to do, so
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. There is not that much to do in the game.
yeah.
Also, don't forget the issues that plagued it. Like, I couldn't even change the color of my car and vinyls for like a month.
For a long, because just a broken, buggy mess, and then some people losing all their cars or.
I think
doing that in
the
some way.
I think the people who do defend this game are people like your kids who grown up with this style of game and haven't experienced other things, like people who are not born or just born when stuff like when Black Box are making the games, so they never saw
Yeah.
how good it was, and just like, oh, they're not used to good stuff, they just see this shit, and I think that's the standard. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's possible. I bet if they were around a time where they were used to quality, they would see the flaws more easily. And also the black box games, they're not as amazing as everyone likes to remember them as. They definitely have their flaws here and there. I still can play and enjoy them a lot. They're definitely not perfect, but like there is this baseline level of quality with the game, and I think it's pretty easy to see that if a game has if a game is passable, if that makes sense.
Even the rest piece of shit games that they brought out were decent compared to like the other ones. Like Pro Street, not many people like it, but many people do, and they can say it's a solid game even today. It's got more content than Heat has, and that's been over 13 years now, which is crazy.
I wouldn't argue.
even-
I would not argue that it has more content than Heat, but I would argue that it's a sound game.
It has more content in terms of like races. I'd say like drag.
Oh,
and
actually, yeah.
and
In terms
speed.
of the length of the campaign, yes,
Yeah,
yes, for sure.
and it's even got performance tuning in a way, especially with stuff like drag. Again, Heat could probably benefit from that, especially seeing. I think Forza does something like that. I'm not into tuning and stuff, but I don't know too much about.
Yeah. Now,
There's a lot of stuff they can do.
Forza Horizon, I guess from 2 on up, they have had somewhat extensive tuning because the type of game, the whole point of Forza Horizon is that it's an arcade racer that is slightly more to the simulation side. That's its whole kind of thing there. And so I can understand people are saying, oh, Need for Speed doesn't have to be Forza. It doesn't need like all this tuning. Go back to Need for Speed Underground 2. I was very surprised with how much tuning that game has. Not to the levels of Forza, of course, but, that game could still feel arcade and still be very arcade, but have a fair bit of tuning to it. So like there's like an extra level to it. Ever since Payback, the tuning, like there's basically no tuning in it. Like you change downforce and steering sensitivity, and that's it. Like, that's supposed to be tuning? That's tuning a car? Just downforce and steering sensitivity? That's pathetic.
If that was the case in real life, you'd be sorted in a couple of minutes, possibly.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
I mean,
just
there's
changing.
just so much more to it. And it doesn't have to be that precise. Like, I'm not expecting you to boot up a Need for Speed and, like, I'm going to change the diameter of my brake system's master cylinder to, get more brake torque. I'm not expecting, like, a certain level of things, but you can do a little bit more. At the very least, have the level of Need for Speed 2015's tuning. If not, maybe Underground 2 or oh no, because well, yeah, I'm contradicting myself. I said that, I phrased that as if 2015 had more tuning than Underground 2. No, what I mean is like I would hope that they would have the level of tuning of maybe Pro Street, if not Underground 2, if not Need for Speed 2015. At least with 2015, there was a pretty big difference with tuning your car and your car's performance. So there was a clear incentive. But I think the reason for that was because the game was a little bit broken. So to tune the car, to spend time tuning a car would mean that you would make the game feel a little bit more playable. That's my personal experience. But you can still have a tuning system as extensive as 2015's and have it be beneficial to the player to tune their car. I just really dislike how tuning is now downforce and steering sensitivity. That's just really sad.
Is there a reason to why they removed it, or is that not talked about or not known?
No clue. I actually don't know. If I could make a guess, it's that maybe it has something to do with the nature of the handling model. So being able to change those values that the tuning sliders did in 2015 would make the car feel kind of less or more broken as a whole on a subjective level. And so for them to update it in Heat or Payback, sorry, at this point in time, they would have tuning be very limited, so you don't have the opportunity to break the handling system. Which is then, keep messing around with it until you get what you want, and you can have people tune cars as extensively as 2015. I mean, at least I don't know. They probably tried to do that, but they weren't able to. So, and again, I don't know. I really don't know. But
I think
yeah.
I think that just shows that the game itself is fucked, the engine or whatever, because it's got. I don't want to go too much on the tangent, but it's got clipping issues and stuff like that with the Frostbite engine, an engine that wasn't made for cars, is made for first person action. It's like building an F1 car. It'll be perfect for like obviously F1 racing, but take it on the road or off road and you're screwed.
Yeah.
And this way you can describe Frostbite as, if you think about it.
If I agree, it's not because I know, because I honestly I don't have that much knowledge about game engines and how they work. So what you're saying makes sense to me personally, but I have no idea. Maybe it's possible to just make a physics engine, or make a game feel like a completely different game in a different physics engine and whatever. Like you get what I'm saying. Maybe it's possible. I don't know. What you're saying makes sense to me, but Yeah, I think it's that. But what I wanted to say was about clipping issues. They really need to sort that out. I'm surprised they didn't sort that out in the first update or even address it. Again, this is their lack of awareness. Their are on the community side. You know, if there's like if they acknowledged the clipping issues, that would be a little bit better. Because if you've driven the Lamborghini Murcielago in heat, it's unbearable. And I hate it so much because it's one of my favorite cars, but I just
Same.
can't drive it. It keeps like clipping through the ground and bouncing up at like 200 degrees to the left of wherever you hit. Like it's just horrible. They could have fixed that in the January update. They could have done a lot of things. They could have fixed clipping issues. They could have had PvP. They could have had a purpose for nighttime racing. They could have made the other races feel, I guess, significant again. You know, with the whole there are not many 400 plus races. Like just reading through this Under the Hood article, it just really feels like we're yelling at a wall, and on the other side of the wall, there's a lot of soundproofing, and then there's the developers. That's I guess my analogy. Like they're not hearing us at all.
Nah, even that's too thin. It'd be like a nuclear bunker wall. Because you literally have. I know I'm late to the party, but like Max said, the Happy New Year, which is cringy and not all like what
Oh, disgusting.
Yeah.
the community need. They want to know what's happening next. Even stuff like I think the crew and many other games have done like uh, timelines of like what they're gonna add, and even something as basic as that. Yeah, roadmaps. Even Anthem did, even though that game flopped and actually they actually got rid of the roadmap. At least gave people a semblance of hope, something that not many people, except for probably 12-year-olds in the speed community, have.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think of like what else they could do in the future updates. I really don't have like it's not a point. If they haven't been listening so far, what are the odds that they're listening now? You know.
They ain't.
I hope they prove me wrong, but I don't really have that much hope for it anymore. I still actually enjoy the game. I think it's a really fun experience. You know, cop racing or racing at night. That's what I usually do when I get on. Even though there's no actual incentive. There's no from a like a gameplay perspective. There's no reason to keep playing at night. I'll still, if I have like 5 minutes of free time, get into a cop chase, escape, and then shut it off. But the game, it's not. It's really sad to see. I remember being really cautious when trailers came out for the game, because I was like, you know, it's still possible that this is going to be another Payback. And then the game came out, and it was great. And it really was. And then this happens. Like, I don't know. I think I've lost hope for there to be a truly great Need for Speed experience. I still have hope in there being future games and updates and things where I'll have a bit of fun. But I'm not going to hold it to the same standard anymore. You know, I'm not. It's like Need for Speed has kind of been that big release of the year in whichever year it comes out, if that makes any sense, you know? So, like, in 2019, I was like, okay, the thing I'm really looking forward to is a new Need for Speed game. But I'm just going to take it as it's just another release, you know? It's just another game. It's not, you know, something for me personally to be that excited over. And that's kind of my perspective of it. But before we say anything else, I wanted to mention, going back to what they've said on their Twitter, the Need for Speed Twitter account, it seems like the game came out, and then I think a lot of the employees just went like on vacation just to do whatever, just like screw around. That's what it feels like. Is that what I know is happening? No, I don't know. I really don't know. But when people are saying, "Oh man, this is what we get after 4 months of," they were not working on it for 4 months. You can't say that they're working on it for 4 months when they're definitely not. And I'm pretty sure we could see from Max or from someone else that they're like, hey, now that work week 1 of 2020 is in, and it's, like not the first week of 2020, that they have not been working on this update for like 4 months. So yeah, that's just completely baseless claim. I'm not calling out anyone in particular. I actually don't know who said it or what, but I've heard it somewhere on the internet. Like, oh man, this is so disappointing after 4 months of waiting. This is all we get. Yes, 4 months of waiting, but not 4 months of development time. You don't know that. And this isn't me developing, or not. This isn't me defending Ghost either. Because why weren't they developing for that time period, right? I'm not saying like, oh, this update is justifiable because of the fact that they did not work on it for that long. What I'm saying is they should have been working on an update for so long because there are huge issues. Maybe not as big as 2015's and Paybacks, but considering how serious some of them are to how the game is, if they did not get good reviews, I would not be that surprised. I would not be that surprised, and B, I would expect the same swiftness with updates as 2015's and Payback's life cycle. And again, maybe to the disadvantage of the workers. Again, I have absolutely no idea. I think they were just lucky with review scores because while mechanically it's a better game than 2015 and Payback, it definitely has issues. I mean, maybe not like, I wouldn't give it like a 6 out of 10. Maybe like a 7 or whatever. Like, what I'm saying is, I disagree with the notion that we should be disappointed because they spent 4 months working on this lackluster update. I think we should instead be questioning why they spent 4 months doing nothing and like maybe 2 weeks making a mediocre update. I think that's a different concern, but a concern nonetheless. Is there anything else you guys want to add real quick?
Playing devil's advocate, do you think maybe they're working with other stuff behind the scenes, like maybe different studios or different games? Like, especially with a company like EA and Crunch and all that kind of stuff, you don't know what's been going on. Maybe they deserve it, but I can't say either way.
Yeah, it's possible. But I don't think so because, well, actually, now that you mention it, they did well with this game, and EA might be like, "Oh, you got decent reviews. We want you to work on this project." I don't know. I don't know how likely that is. Like, whatever it is, we can speculate. We know for sure there is a clear disconnect somewhere with either, I think there is a disconnect between us and the community management, and possibly one between EA and Ghost. Like, just all of this, like, Max, I'm gonna try not to roast you again, but you're kind of making it a little hard for me. I'm gonna be honest. Like, he's just responding to random tweets, like low effort jokes, and like to all this community. I'm reading this tweet. He shows this picture someone drew of Anna from the game, the story character, and then he also that was in a reply tweet to this thing showing what is it? Someone with a partnership with Need for Speed and whatever designed a Polestar, and then someone made it in the game with the wrap editor. This is the same issue with that I had in the last episode with just like, I'm not trying to flame you this time, Max, but you're kind of making it hard. To me, it seems like there's like barely any communication, and that it gives me the impression that you are not aware of the problems we're having. That doesn't mean you're not aware. It just gives me the impression that you are not aware of the problems we're having.
I think people up top are limiting him from what I'm saying because he knows obviously a lot more than everyone else. But
Yeah.
due to obviously his position and the way everything just works. He's not allowed to say anything, and so just tries things look cool, but ends up looking like a prat.
Yeah.
Again, there's no shade towards him. He's probably a cool guy, but there's a way to do stuff online, and that's not it.
Yeah. I just I whatever it is I said before, like it gives me the impression that they don't know what we want. That's what this Under the Hood article feels like. It gives me the impression, I have no idea, but it gives me the impression that they don't know what we want.
It's under the
And
hood of an alien ship, not like a car that people have in the game.
yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I don't really have any hopes for the next update. I don't. I'm just gonna like kind of pretend a little bit that this game doesn't exist for a while, and then I'll be surprised like, oh look, another update, and it'll be you know what, actually what I think would be fun. I want everyone guess what's gonna be in the next update, and don't try not to guess what you want to be in the next update. Guess what you think is gonna be in the next update.
Okay. Car pack and more bug fixes, and that's it. Literally,
Yeah.
that's literally what I'm expecting at this point, and it's so sad.
Mm, yeah. As for me, oh, I was thinking about this for a little bit. I was thinking about because when Payback came out, their car DLC, the Aston Martin DB5. I can't remember anyone who's ever. I mean, okay, I understand there's some people who want that car, but people wanted, I think, like an RX-8 or an Eclipse or something. I don't remember seeing hordes of replies saying, "Oh, we want an Aston Martin DB5." And then also a Pontiac Firebird. Why? Again, cool car, but not what people were requesting, from my perspective at least. Do you know the one Alfa Romeo? I think it's like the one SUV that they made.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I would not be surprised
Yeah.
if they put that in the update, just like for no reason, just like, oh, new cars, cool. Even
No, I think
even though nobody wanted that.
I think they're just gonna put like duplicates of cars that already have, but different variants.
You know what? You know what'd be hilarious? Okay, you know how there's the car list was almost artificially increased in size because of the convertibles in the game. What if it's
Yeah.
just like, no, we have a insert existing car but a convertible version of it.
Oh my
I would not be
Hey,
surprised at all.
What, you pay real money for it? Yeah, that would go well.
But
Yeah.
to be fair, mod menus like not for Need Speed Payback will just unlock them for free. So
Oh, yeah.
Wait, really? You can get DLC cars for free?
I think you're able
Well,
to.
God.
Yeah,
I did
well-
not, but it's. I think. I think.
I didn't
someone-
try it, but I saw it on YouTube where he
on
he
YouTube.
unlocked like every car in the game, even like ones that weren't like made, the ones that were hidden, like I think some hot rods and stuff like that, if I remember correctly, or whatever, that were not in the game, or certain cars and they put them back, like the yeah, I can't remember the top of my head, but it's stuff to do with that. And again, you've seen that now in this game where they are modded like in police cruisers and things like that aren't there. So who knows?
Yeah. Oh, going back to what I think would be in the next update, the Ferrari 458 Speciale. We already have a 458. We already have a 458 Spider. I think it'd be a fantastic addition to have another car that's already very, very similar to other ones. Ghost is a great idea. I can see you guys doing this with your past DLC car decisions. So, yeah.
I wonder if they
definitely.
can see the sarcasm in the voice. But
What else? What else?
it's just falling on deaf ears, I guess. I don't think anything's
Yeah.
gonna change.
I'm trying to think of other like really terrible DLC decisions.
Uh,
Maybe like
no,
does a 488 convertible
Is-
exist? I think it'd be hilarious if there's a 488 a Spider, and then we have a 488, the 488 Spider and the 488 Pista. That would be good. Oh, the new Porsche 911. So I guess generation 992. That seems like a Ghost Games DLC car right there. A new version of a car of which we have loads of already. And of course, not being a tuner or anything people actually play Need for Speed for. No, that would be ridiculous. The community is just raging for the Aston Martin and uh for the Pontiac Firebird, like in Payback. The such great DLC. Which, by the way, oh, you know what? Those cars were $5 a piece, I think.
$5 for one car.
Yeah, in Payback. Now, I think they had a weird setup where
I could get a 2 for $5 at McDonald's for that price.
where I think if you bought both of them, it also cost the same. So it'd be completely arbitrary to buy one of them and not the other. But I'm gonna guess on the safe side, and that it was $5 for both of them. So what do you think about pricing for this DLC? Because there are definitely a lot of people who are like, hey, I know there's a lot of customization, but this is definitely not worth the money. Do you think for their DLC, they're gonna, like in the next update, it's gonna be reasonably priced, or do you think it's gonna be terrible? What's
Knowing
your
Ghost,
plans?
it will be terrible.
Yeah, okay. I have a lot of issues with Forza. One thing that is, in my opinion, not that respectable, but I guess somewhat respectable compared to, I guess, the situation with the DB5 and the Pontiac. I think individual cars are like $2.79 or something like that if you don't get them in a car pack.
That's
That's
fair.
actually, honestly, I think that's really expensive. I think that's really expensive because the experience, you're basically paying for a car that almost feels near identical to another car because there are like 400 of them already, and there's probably not going to be that much customization and stuff that you can do with it. But whatever, that's better than $5. If it
Yeah.
was, no, because if it was $5 for both cars, then it'd be $2.50 for each, which would be cheaper
I
and
still find
more
that's
money. I
quite
don't know. That's a weird comparison. I'm
expensive
not going to compare it to Forza anymore.
for
But
like a single car, in my
yeah,
opinion.
I think if I recall correctly, Burnout Paradise's car DLC was like $1.99. I think. It wasn't 99 cents. I think it was $1.99. And
For
considering
how many cars? For how
no
many?
no no for one. For one car, I think was $1.99. I think this is like the legendary pack, or like individual cars
Okay.
within the legendary pack. Which, I mean, some of them like had weird but interesting capabilities, like the Jansen P88 Special. So like the car that actually floated and left flaming boost trails. So there's
Oh
like a
yeah.
little bit of something that goes into that decision for that DLC. Um, but I feel like Ghost is probably just gonna release car DLC. Well, they mentioned earlier like what types of DLC they'd release. Somewhere I think in some interview a while ago before launch, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna release a time savers pack and we're gonna release car DLC." And I guess now they're gonna have the time savers pack for collectibles, and then we're just gonna get car DLC.
Do you think
Sad
they might
man.
add story DLC considering the
No.
reception?
Uh, I
Like,
probably, if you ask me this question, around November 10th or 11th, really close to the launch of the game, I'd say, yeah, for sure. The story was really short. I think they can expand on it quite a bit. Now, no, I don't see it coming. I just see generic car DLC that nobody asked for. No addition of new modes. I really doubt they're gonna continue listening to community feedback. To their credit, they did listen about the, what is it? Give me one moment. I'm scrolling through. Yeah, going to the gas
scratches.
station clears paint damage and removes scratches. Um, which
That
honestly,
seems a bit stupid.
that probably should have been there at the start, but whatever.
Yeah, that's what I meant by stupid. It should have been there at the start because repairing your car doesn't repair the visual damage. That's like, huh?
Yeah, that's a weird decision by Ghost to
To be
not
fair, I
include.
did notice it though.
Yeah, I didn't pay too much attention to it, but um, there's so many things that they can be doing, and then they're adding steering wheel support, a chat wheel, a time savers pack, and this whole gas station thing that they should have had a long time ago.
I mean,
The future's not bright.
one thing weird about Heat that I discovered when I was playing it is that I don't know the map like area names, but you know, like the area, like not area part. I meant the downtown area part.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yes.
so yeah, the downtown
Typical place.
area at the top right. So like the main city is like in that one specific area,
Mm-hmm.
but if you go really north, there's a jump and it takes you more north uh to where there's like a hideout there. And I found out with any heat level, if I take that jump, I instantly lose the cops and a hideout's right there so I can just bank all my stuff. So I feel like that's just a bit like
Hmm.
counterintuitive in a way, just oh, the cops are like so hard and all that, but like it's so easy to escape them with just
Yeah.
that
Oh,
method.
that's a whole another conversation there. I think the cops, the difficulty is, in my opinion, artificial because they
Yeah.
could not. I don't know if they can or not, but I don't think. Well, whatever it is, if they can or they can't, they did not make a challenging cop AI system. Instead, they made a very weird, not weird, very
Aggressive.
just terrible damage system. You know,
Yeah.
I don't give much praise to Criterion's Need for Speed games, but in Hot Pursuit 2010, your health bar did not feel like something that hindered your ability to have fun. It just felt
Yeah.
like a health bar. You had a sufficient amount of health. If you played stupidly, then you'd get your car wrecked. When Rivals came out, I hated the health mechanic. I absolutely, I abhorred it. It was terrible. Your cars, it felt like they were made out of paper. And in Heat, honestly, it's kind of the same way. It's
Yeah.
not that bad in terms of damage because the cops don't have like these magical fake weapons like shockwave against you. But it's when you're in a quote unquote intense cop chase, you'll have some Corvette cops, kind of close to you. They'll lightly tap you and they'll take away a huge chunk of health, right? If you're playing a game like Most Wanted 05, the cops are swarming all around you. You know, you're surrounded. Uh, they're trying to box you in, slow you down, and everything. And I'm not like flip flopping my opinion. I've had this opinion pretty much since the game first came out, and I remember like people were like, "Oh, the cops are great. What are you talking about?" Like, no, the cops
I
they need
defended the
work.
cops at first.
Hey, it's whatever. I don't really care. But
I'd
Yeah.
say it's just consistency. That's the thing you can say about the whole game. Paper is like near perfect, say in some ways.
mhm,
Then when I execute it, it's a bit shit. Like
yeah,
you can smash someone 100 miles per hour and you're okay, but then you get hit by a cop or you hit a traffic car, just a tiny bit, and you lose more than half your health.
yeah. Like sometimes you'll rear end a truck at 200 miles per hour, and your damage bar does not change at all. You slightly
Yeah.
scrape by a certain barrier, and then the game decides to take half your health away. It's really inconsistent, and it just feels so cheap. Just like such a cheap way of having difficulty. Why not? Instead of doing that, make an actual decent comprehensive police system where the AI is aware of you. They don't die instantly once you uh, go over a jump. They aren't like easy to get away from in a fast car, and you don't have this completely unnecessary damage system. I don't know why they didn't just do that, but whatever it is, uh, that's just that's just how the game is. Um, if I was really hoping they would have like a game mode akin to Team Escape in Need for Speed World, because I think that would work quite well with the game system, especially with the risk reward type of thing. But after this Under the Hood article, um, I don't have any hope for the studio or for the game. I really
I don't
don't.
have hope for the studio.
I don't have hope for the studio, especially if this game fucks up. I think the game might close them or just do something with Need for Speed that
Oh, close
might
them.
put
I
the
doubt that would happen.
like put the franchise on ice or something, like doing Mass Effect.
I mean, if they had
But
another
that's
studio up and ready to continue working on the game, maybe. Because I mean, like they can't black box because they made the run and the run was didn't do that well, right? I think the reason they might not is because, well, they've already like EA doesn't care anymore. They're like, well, You know, 2015 got horrible ratings. Payback got horrible ratings. Heat did pretty well. So, whatever. Who cares if they have terrible post-launch support? Who cares if the next game is really bad? Again, I don't know, but honestly, yeah, actually, no, I would change my opinion. I don't think they would close Ghost because of the reasons I mentioned. I don't think they would close down the studio. Like, they've already been through tough times already, so it's like, you know, what more can you lose, right?
Yeah.
Don't think that. You're gonna jinx.
Yeah. I think that just about does it for our discussion here about the Under the Hood article and I
Yeah.
guess the future of Need for Speed. So, I hate to end it on a bad note, but that's really all there is. You know, if we had good news, if the update was really great, that would be, you know, that would be great. But
Well,
it's not.
actually, if we have time right now, I have an idea for just one more quick short topic,
Okay.
if you're ready for it.
Yeah.
Remember Fast and Furious?
So I
Oh,
don't want to think about that or talk
the
about
Fast
that.
and Furious game.
No, not the game, the movies.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like
I
the
went on
game made by
I went on
Slightly
my
Mad.
Twitter a few minutes ago, and in the advertisement area there was now I don't know if I'm interpreting this wrong, but the tweet said the road to the Fast 9 concert and trailer drop is Friday, January 31st. So I think the trailers are going to drop next week.
Hmm.
So what are you guys like expecting from Fast and Furious 9?
For me,
Aliens.
Aliens.
with the Fast and Furious 9, there are a few times where I can recall something I've cared about less in my entire life. That sums up my feelings. You know, it's like at least with Need for Speed, I had a little bit of hope. Like, you know, maybe the updates will be good. For Fast and Furious, it's they've given up years ago, years
Yeah.
and years and years ago. I don't care anymore, and
Yeah.
you know, it's because it's not what makes money. You know, if
That,
you want to make
that's what a
money,
lot of people
have
told me, that they just don't care about it anymore. So I was interested to see what you guys thought about it.
yeah, it's. I just I want to care, but I can't. I just can't care about it. I want to care, but I can't. Um, yeah. Actually, you know what? I'm afraid Need for Speed is gonna start feeling like Fast and Furious, where I just don't care anymore, and it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
It's possible, but you know, or
I
imagine,
guess it's up to Super Street.
Oh
you know,
my god.
or imagine if Fast and Furious went the Need for Speed route. They release another movie with like car culture and whatever. You know, just like 2015, but there are clear issues with the movie. And then the next movie is just like really bad, and like maybe there's still hope. And then the next one's also really bad.
Yeah.
Kind of like with Need for Speed. Uh, I mean, to its
I mean,
credit, Heat was pretty good. Heat was pretty
yeah.
good, but they didn't support it. That's the problem. They didn't support the game at all. This is really terrible support. Like, when I mean support, I mean actually do something that keeps the game alive. Not this update. Um, yeah, I think
All right.
that's it for this one.
Yep.
All right then. See you guys in the next one.